I mean, I think ideally what you're doing with a business is you're getting the right person to the right activity. That's really key in a business. Is the right person does the right thing, and they keep refining how they do that thing. So, I've always been pretty good at building relationships. So I keep refining how my ability to build those relationships, to build trust, to build high leverage relationships, and you keep getting better at those activities because you're devoting all of those activities. It's kind of like when I started out in sales and individual production sales. It's like if I had a week, like one of the things I was most proud of in my sales career, which is the early part of my career, is that I never had what I call the blank week. I never had a week where I didn't make a sale. And part of the reason for that, I think there were two reasons for that. One is I always made sure I had a lot of appointments. So at that time when I started, I had 15 appointments in a week. That was always my goal, to have 15 sales appointments in a week, which is a pretty high number in our industry. And it did two things. It took a lot of pressure off me in individual appointments, because if you have two appointments in a week, well, one person might not show up, they might be late, and then you're kind of left with one appointment. And if you sell them, okay, but if you don't, you're kind of you kind of have a blank week, which isn't great in sales, depending on the industry. So by having those appointments, it gave me the flexibility to not feel so pressured that if I didn't make a sale on that appointment, it's going to be the end of the world because there were other appointments. But the other thing, and this is where I was kind of going with it, is that a lot of times it took me up to two or three appointments till I felt like I was really in a groove with my presentation. So by the time I got to my eighth or ninth appointment in the week, I was humming. Like I was, everything was smooth. I felt like, the appointments were going very smooth. The presentation was crisp. Everything was really good. But if you're one of those people that had two or three appointments, you never actually got to that level of where you're in a groove. So, and I think that applies to really most things within a business. If you're only doing one activity 10% of the time or very few times, it's hard to get into a groove with that activity. And if you're trying to wear too many hats, you're not only are you focusing on activities that aren't high value activities, you're not as good at those activities because you don't know where all the things are like that. Whereas if you're, focusing your most of your time on a certain small basket of activities, then you can really get really good at those activities and really streamline those activities.